What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching a Ragin Ronin review. Got a review for you. I checked out an advanced screening of Stuber. It's an action comedy, and it stars Kumail Nanjiani and also Dave Bautista. And of course, we've seen Dave Bautista in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2, and of course, Avengers Infinity War, and a little part of Avengers Endgame, and he was also in Blade Runner 2049. As for Kumail Nanjiani, I last saw him in The Big Sick, this romance comedy, which I really enjoyed. I really loved this character in that film. And now we have a buddy action comedy, which is Stuber. And when I first saw the trailer, I was actually pretty sold. I just thought that the humor rather looks very clever, and looks it just looked like a very funny mismatched couple type of comedy, because you have two very contrasting types of characters. Steve, who Steve in Uber. He drives an Uber vehicle. He pretty much plays the same character that Kumail Nanjiani plays in The Big Sick. He kind of can't get away from that character. But he's funny in this. He's actually quite funny in this. As for Dave Bautista, same type of character he's played before. Macho, tough guy, but still with a bit of a soft side. And I like that, you see a bit of a character development for both these characters in a film like this. After all, it is a very silly buddy action comedy. To be completely honest, it is pretty standard action fare. There's nothing really outstanding in terms of the action. The action is really just a tool to really bring together more chemistry between these two characters. And I want to be completely straight up with you. The movie is very outrageous. It's very, how can I say? The comedy is very obnoxious. The chemistry between the two is just, you don't really warm up to them until much later on in the film. But the two acting together and sharing scenes together contains a lot of obnoxious comedy, and I gotta say that it took me a bit of time to warm up to it. Later on, as the relationship developed, then I started liking the comedy more, because it's just a lot of them screaming at each other, and I feel like that's a lot of screaming, and are they gonna do anything different other than scream at each other? Because that's pretty much the first half of the film. Second half, there's still the screaming there, especially from Kumail Nanjiani, but it tones down a bit after they go through. They start liking each other, they start thinking each other is cool, and they feel like they need each other, and that's when I start feeling, okay, this is a film that's not is it just getting interesting, but I'm starting to like it more. But it took me like a halfway point before I started liking the movie. But what I did really like about this movie is that I actually loved the concept of wrapping an action comedy around the concept of Uber, like ride sharing, right? There's so much they can do in a comedy about ride sharing. I mean, it's not entirely about ride sharing, but the ride sharing act of Uber actually plays a huge part in this film. And they wrote a lot of really clever comedy bits in this film, and I thought that it worked really well. I mean, especially if you've used an Uber before and you know how it works, you will find that a lot of the jokes they have involving Uber is really quite funny. So kudos to the writers to really incorporating that in there, because I've seen a lot of comedies where they just mention Uber and that's it, and that's your comedy moment. But they make an entire film with jokes wrapped around Uber, and I thought that was really funny. So, and they do that throughout the entire movie, so that's pretty cool. I like that they did that. But besides that, it's a standard buddy action comedy with some pretty standard action, but the comedy's obnoxious, but then later on you warm up to them. Now, one thing I gotta say that really hurt the movie is that I hated the way they filmed the action. You got an actor like Iko Uwais, who was from The Raid and The Raid Redemption, the sequel, is great martial artist, but why did they have to film the action all shaky cam and up close and so much editing, and you don't know what's going on? I mean, this is typical American action directing, and not so much the choreography, but the action directing is just really poorly done, where you don't know what's going on. You have a skilled martial artist, show him his skills to the audience, just like they do in John Wick. And like they could have totally done that, but they decided to like just film it like this, and they did that throughout the entire movie, and I really couldn't stand it. So that really hurt the film a lot. It is an action comedy. The comedy's there, action not quite. I'm gonna give it 5.5 out of 10. I still found the concept of it pretty hilarious, but the rest of it really is a bit weak, especially the action. And there you have it. As always, if you enjoyed this review, you want to see more, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation, also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.